part of this organization for years and years as a player, as an assistant coach. Must mean so much to him, as he just described to John Giannone. There's Josh Hart back on the float, front of the float.
This might be one of the funniest little moments to come out of the entire championship parade, and it involves Josh Hart, his wife, and a thumbs up that fans are now connecting straight back to Jalen Brunson and everything that's been going on around this Knicks championship run. No cap, this clip is spreading everywhere this morning, and once you understand the full context, you're going to see exactly why people are losing their minds over a single hand gesture caught on a broadcast camera. Let me break this whole thing down for you, gang, from the very beginning. So picture this, the Knicks just won their first championship since 1973. 53 years, gang. 53 years of nothing. And this group finally broke through. The city goes absolutely insane. And New York throws this team a full championship parade right through the heart of Manhattan. The kind of celebration this fan base has been dreaming about for over 5 decades. Confetti everywhere, floats rolling down the street, players hanging out the sides just soaking in the moment with thousands and thousands of fans packed onto the sidewalks screaming their names. And right in the middle of all this chaos, the broadcast cameras catch Josh Hart, front of the float, just vibing, having the time of his life like he always does, gang. Because if you know anything about Josh Hart, you know this man has a personality that's bigger than basketball itself. Now, before we even get into the wife moment, chat, you need the full picture of who's involved here, because this parade was loaded with storylines from start to finish. You had broadcasters John and Herb on the call. And at one point they bring up Herb Williams, who's been part of this organization for years and years, first as a player back in the day, then sticking around as an assistant coach for over 2 decades. And when they're talking about what this championship means to a guy like Herb, who's basically given his entire basketball life to this franchise, you can hear it in their voices. Gang, this isn't just some random parade for these guys. This is validation for literally decades of work, decades of losing seasons, decades of close calls that never actually got there. So when they're describing what it means to everyone who's come through that organization, players and coaches alike, you understand why this hits different. They wanted this so badly, not just for themselves and their teammates, but for the entire city, because there is nothing in professional sports that compares to actually winning a championship in New York, especially in the sport of basketball, gang. This is the basketball capital of the world, and it had gone over half a century without a title. Let that sink in for a second. And right as all this sentimental stuff is being talked about on the broadcast, the cameras cut right back to Josh Hart, front of the float, doing his thing, and the commentators can't help but laugh and point out that Josh Hart knows how to have a good time. That is for sure, gang. And if you followed this guy's career at all, from Villanova National Championship days back in 2016, all the way through stops with the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Blazers, and now finally finding his home with the Knicks. You know, Josh Hart has always been the personality guy, the energy guy, the guy who's somehow both a gritty defensive role player and the life of every single locker room he's ever been in. Then the broadcast shifts gears for a second, gang, and they bring up something that happened the day before the parade, which is Josh Hart throwing out a pretty solid first pitch at Yankee Stadium. And listen, for an NBA guy who's not exactly known for his baseball background, that's actually impressive. No cap. The commentators are clearly entertained by it, going back and forth about how it landed, calling it a pretty good first pitch, and then somebody jokes that it was basically strikes for both Jalen and Josh, tying it back to Brunson, who apparently also threw one out around the same stretch of celebrations. And this is where it gets interesting, gang, because somebody on the broadcast brings up that they actually had a relative play for the Yankees, which is a fun little detail that connects this Knicks celebration all the way back into actual New York, sports history, blending the basketball title with the city's baseball legacy in real time. Now here's where the story ties together, chat, and this is the part everybody's clipping and sharing right now. While all this Yankee Stadium talk is happening, somebody brings up that Deuce McBride, the Knicks guard, had tweeted out that he was signing every single Deuce McBride jersey he saw in the crowd that day. Bro, that's actually a wholesome detail on its own, gang. A guy literally going out of his way to interact with fans wearing his own jersey in the middle of a championship parade. No security barrier, no scripted moment, just genuine appreciation for the people who'd been riding with this team. And then the broadcast jokes that there's one for Josh Hart too, meaning somewhere out there in that massive crowd, there was probably a Hart jersey getting the same treatment. But chat, here's where the real viral moment comes in, and it's the piece everybody's actually talking about today. cameras catch Josh Hart's wife, Shannon Hart, somewhere near the float during all of this celebration, and in the middle of the noise, the confetti, the chaos of 53 years of waiting finally paying off, she throws up a thumbs up directly toward the camera, and fans online are convinced it was specifically connected to Brunson, almost like a stamp of approval, a cosign on everything that's plot going on with this team's chemistry all season. Now, was it actually a direct response to something Brunson said or did? Nobody's fully confirmed that, gang. But once that clip got cut and put online next to all the other parade footage, the internet ran wild with the theory immediately. People started connecting it to everything that's been bubbling up since the finals ended. The Brunson toast about Wemby, the locker room chemistry stories, the whole vibe of this Knicks team being closer than almost any roster in recent memory. So when Shannon Hart throws up that thumbs up on camera, fans decided it was basically her giving her own seal of approval to the whole situation, gesture and all. Like she was saying, yeah, this is exactly the energy this team needed all year. And gang, the fan reaction split into two camps almost instantly, the same way it always does with these viral parade clips. One side is saying, this is just classic Knicks family energy that the players' wives and partners have been just as locked in all season as the guys on the court, showing up to road games, posting support online, being visible at every major moment. So of course, Shannon Hart is right there in the middle of the celebration throwing up gestures of approval, because this whole extended Knicks circle has been riding together since day one of this title run. The other side is having a little more fun with it, joking that even the wives are out here clowning Brunson's situation, turning a simple thumbs up into a whole storyline about marital approval ratings for NBA point guards. Gang. Either way, the comment section under this clip blew up within hours, with people pulling screenshots, freeze framing the exact second of the thumbs up, debating whether it was random or fully intentional. What if I told you, gang, that this kind of stuff has basically become its own subplot of this entire championship run? Because ever since the finals wrapped, every single little moment, every toast, every gesture, every offhand tweet from a guy like Deuce McBride about signing jerseys has turned into its own viral mini-story. Y'all are not ready for how much scrutiny this team is under right now, because winning your first title in 53 years means every single celebration moment gets dissected from 50 different angles. Nothing is just a random thumbs up anymore, gang. Everything gets a narrative attached to it within minutes of hitting the internet. And honestly, that's part of why this Knicks team has become so fun to follow right now. Chat. You've got Herb Williams getting his long overdue moment after decades in that organization. You've got Josh Hart out here being his usual chaotic, lovable self in front of a float, throwing first pitches at Yankee Stadium. You've got Deuce McBride out there personally signing jerseys for random fans in the crowd. And now you've got Shannon Hart turning a simple thumbs up into a full-blown internet theory connecting back to Jalen Brunson. This isn't just a team that won a championship. Gang, this is a whole ecosystem of personalities that the entire city has fallen in love with over the course of this season, and the parade just gave everybody a front row seat to see how genuinely tight-knit this entire circle actually is, players, coaches, wives, and all. So chat, I want to know what you think. Was that thumbs up from Shannon Hart actually some kind of intentional message connected to Brunson? Or are people just reading way too much into a random celebratory gesture during the biggest parade the city has seen in over 50 years? And while you're at it, tell me who had the better parade moment. Josh Hart hyping up the crowd from the front of that float, or Deuce McBride going out of his way to sign jerseys for fans he's never even met? Drop your take down in the comments below, gang, because this comment section is about to be just as wild as the parade itself. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and let me know who in this entire Knicks circle you're rocking with the hardest right now, because we are nowhere near done talking about this championship celebration.